Hello, my friends. Today's question comes from the AskMen subreddit. And the question is, how do you mentally be at peace living with your parents in your mid 20s? 24, moved back in with after a breakup. I make good money, about 100K, but decided to take 1 to 2 years at home to pay off my student loan and get a good down payment for a home. I have a fine relationship with my parents, but love the freedom and responsibility as a man on my own. I feel like living at home negatively impacts my self image, not to mention a dating life. Can anyone relate? Advice? I know I could easily grab an apartment now, but I'm trying to sacrifice now for a better future. I do not have access to the comment section at this time. It appears that Reddit is having a server failure, so I'm able to see the questions or the posts, but I'm not able to see any of the top comments at this time. I have a unique perspective on this because I have done this in a couple different situations. I have been in the situation where I am going back to my parents' house and living with them after a tough relationship. And also with the same person after I got back together with them, I also had the unique experience of having no place to go and having to pick up my life from there. So I'm going to explain the advantages and disadvantages of each and hope that it helps you in some way. Now, in your mid 20s, this user said that they are 24 years old and they make good money. By all rights, 100K these days is probably a situation where it's basically middle class at this point. It's great money and you're doing pretty well for yourself, but where it gets you these days is nowhere near as far as it could have gotten you in the past. That being said, you're in a great spot, and paying off your student loans is a fantastic idea. You are saving yourself in the future from having to accrue more interest and pay more money over time, and just having less debt overall is a fantastic feeling. Not having that extra payment every time you go to pay your bills each month is a big deal. It gives you some great ability later on, maybe in 5 to 10 years when you're 30 to 35 years old and you're in a different phase of your life. Not having to pay those student loans is a big deal. It's great. Now, especially because this person has a wonderful relationship with their family, I would say anything that's not negatively impacting you is wonderful. It's great to be able to say, hey, I'm fine with my parents. We're good. I just got to abide by their rules. Okay. Well, frankly, that's not that bad. Yes, the freedom of being on your own, making your own decisions, doing whatever the hell you want is a wonderful thing. However, if you're not paying rent in today's climate or paying a mortgage in today's climate, economically and housing wise, whoo, man, depending on where you live, that could be a lot of money every month that you're able to save or put towards debts. Massive perks. Now, in terms of the dating life, I wouldn't really be too concerned about it, especially at the age of 24. You've got plenty of time to continue working on yourself, progressing your career in whatever you do, and getting yourself in a position where you not only on the dating side of things look more valuable because your stuff is more together, you have more ducks in a row, but you're able to improve upon yourself during this time because you have less stress from living at home. You have those shared responsibilities instead of having all the responsibilities of maintaining and managing a home on your own. That cannot be understated enough, especially since the relationship is completely fine with your parents. I would absolutely recommend staying at home for a couple years, at least until you get that debt mostly or fully paid off. It'd be a wonderful thing. And like I said, don't worry about the whole dating situation. If you're 24 years old, you and your peers around you, 3 years up or 3 years down, are all trying to figure out who the heck you are, where you're going to go in life, and what you even want. So, my suggestion is to date around still with your spare time and see what you want in a relationship. Go on some dates, figure out what's out there as far as, oh, I like that this person's super kind and caring, but there's this characteristic about this person that I'm really not that keen on. Find out that stuff while you can. It's a phenomenal thing to be able to kind of not necessarily play the field in a bad way, but play the field in terms of getting some experience with dating. Practice your communication with people, set boundaries, explore expressing your emotions, and see what kind of what kind of responses you get from those women. These are all opportunities at this time while you're safe and secure with all of your bills and finances to take advantage of that and get some experience with those tools and skills. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that there are those downsides of not being on your own. Obviously, if you're on your own, you're probably going to be in a position where if you're dating certain people and they mention that stuff early about, hey, maybe they perform something like a checklist where they're like, do you have your own car? What do you drive? What do you do for work? If they stay superficial like that, frankly, they're just saving you time, but you will probably be exposed to people like that are superficial, and you'll get judged for it. I happen to think on some level this is actually a benefit because it builds up a little bit of resilience. But if it happens way too much, it can be a detriment to your mental health and your sense of self worth. I remember you mentioning it impacts your self image. And what I would say to that specifically is asking you, what are you defining as your image? If you only value yourself for one of the aspects people talk about a lot these days, which is being a boss man or a boss bitch and being on your own and paying for everything yourself, if that's what you decide is inherently worthwhile in a person, yeah, you're going to have a shoddy self image. Now, if you decide to value yourself for being a person who's figured out early on, first of all, how to make 100 grand, but second of all, to be able to be like, yeah, nah, these bills that I have the opportunity now to pay off, I can get rid of those. You can value yourself for those things, and that's absolutely huge. Props to you for being able to have that kind of conversation with yourself and make those decisions. Value yourself for making progress in your life. Value yourself for being a nice, kind person to others, even if they choose to not be kind to you. Value yourself for learning in the conversations that you have with others if you're continuing to date and being like, you know what, I didn't have a great result when it came to dating Becky, but I learned that I can express my emotions a bit better by communicating with them. And I learned that I can remove myself if this woman or a future woman is incapable of receiving me as a man expressing my emotions. You see what I'm getting at? So it's important to be able to get some experience here in your 20s. And I, as a 33-year-old man who have been in both positions that you have talked about, would heavily urge you and others to use your 20s to explore and learn as much as you can within reason and take some of those earlier risks to learn some of those early and late term rewards. It's a huge thing to be able to learn more about yourself and get ahead financially now, especially with where the current economy and housing and all that other stuff is headed. Things are not secure, they are not reliable, and you don't have any necessary guarantees of the future. So you may as well hedge a bet on giving yourself more security in the future while you're young and you're not with a long term partner or even with a child. It's a completely different situation if you have a partner or you have separated from your kid's mom or whatever. If you've been through things like that and have greater responsibilities, this conversation and this post probably would have been a bit different. But what I would say for this guy is absolutely take your time. Feel free to move out when you get into that great spot, especially if you're able to afford a down payment and get yourself out of those student loans. That is massive. Take your time, learn while you can. And if you have any questions or comments or things that you guys want me to talk about in future videos, please comment down below. And I appreciate you. If you found any value out of this, please beat the hell out of the subscribe button for me. I appreciate you being here. I hope you're well in life. And I hope this gave you some sort of value and a takeaway that can help you in your mindset or your life. And you found this enjoyable. Have a wonderful day and take care.